Good afternoon from Vietnam, Kaisa. Thanks a lot for spending your morning and joining our Inside Sharing show and share your story with the audience of the program. And we really admire you and the works that you do. And happiness is, people say happiness is a choice, but out there's a lot of people don't have that choice, right? And don't know how to pursue that choice also. So you are an expert on this. We want to hear from your stories. And so to kick off the program, I want to say thank you. And I really appreciate that you spend the time with our audience today.
Thank you very much for inviting me. So happy to join the program and spread some joy and happiness and how to increase that in your life
Absolutely.
and for the listeners.
Absolutely, absolutely. So to start with, is in our cultures that it will be very honor for our audience if we can have you to do the introduction about who you are. And Kaisa, can you help us to do that introduction, please?
Yes, of course. Um, so I'm Kaisa Siipilehto, originally from Finland,
Mm,
Helsinki area. So that's where I grew up and studied and had my, let's say, the first chunk of my career before then becoming a coach, entrepreneur, and now living around the world. So we can go into more details about that later. But nowadays, I'm coaching people. Uh, there's usually many things involved, but like you said, there's people seek for happiness, and that's definitely one of the aspects that I help my clients with. Whether it is in life or career or business, and how to manage kind of like all the life areas we usually have, like about 6 to 8 important life areas. So how to harmonize the combination of that
mm.
to really feel fulfilled and having that meaning in life.
Thanks a lot for sharing that. Because in our Eastern philosophy, they always say living is hard already, right? So, and now you are helping people to find the ways to live a fulfilling life for themselves. So it's even harder, because there's a lot of responsibility, a lot of things that you carry on your shoulder to doing. So. We allow us to bring you to a different point in time. So we're gonna get back to that point later. I want to bring you back to a younger version of Kaiser. Okay, so when I was young, I always wanted to become an astronaut, and I didn't know why, but I always dream up, going to the moon and do the moon jump, whatever it was. And as happy as I was, as passionate about that, life hit me in a different direction, leading me to doing something totally not aligned with what I wanted to be. And I'm still thankful for what I'm doing, but it's not an astronaut as I want it to be, right? So when you were young, what did you want to become, Kaisa?
Oh, I've had like many that I can remember. But the first one was that when we started school,
Mm.
on the first grade, I many of my girlfriends as well in the same classroom, we just loved our teacher.
Mm.
So I think most of the girls wanted to become a teacher when we grew up. So I guess we had a good role model.
Mm.
So that was first. I think a little bit later on, I was thinking of acting. I
Mm.
wanted to, because that was also that in my school, it was very much encouraged. We had these performances and everything, um, and I was dancing a lot, so I was performing in my personal life as well. And what else? I think this is kind of like a route to why I'm coach today. So
Mm.
I was interested in psychology and studied that in high school as well.
Mm.
And maybe the interest came from my mother
Mm.
because uh, she wanted to do that.
Mm.
But when she was younger, um, her father kind of didn't approve that as appropriate career choice because he was a surgeon. So I think that was like you need to have a very clear profession, I
Ah,
guess. So when she couldn't pursue that, I think that's what sparked my interest. Like, okay, psychology and being a therapist, but then I noticed like I might be too empathetic to carry other others' issues on my shoulders as
mm,
well, so I didn't pursue that. I was also making my own clothes, as my mom did. So I first that I applied to after high school was actually a fashion school.
ah,
And I thought that I wanted to do that because I was interested in that. I did my own clothes and like I think it was the creativity and doing with my hands and really seeing the result that
yeah.
was very exciting. Um, but then I didn't got in the first try, so they select like 17 people to start in the program. So my plan B was to study management. So I
Ah,
went to study business management.
mm,
And that's how my whole career in like marketing started. And I did that for 10 years.
ah,
So there has been a lot of different interest from the beginning uh, to then leading to a career that started out as a plan B, you
mm,
know. But I was actually very lucky I did that. I just thought like, okay, business is good knowledge for anyone in any profession.
mm,
And I didn't even know like what kind of like direction to take. And then I guess marketing was something that I could use my creativity. And that was something that I really enjoyed
mm,
a lot.
mm. And see, everything actually really connected, right? Really connecting. If you say that, when you were young, you wanted to be a teacher. Now, you, as a coach,
Mm,
you also have the pupil. So it's part of the teaching and the
mm,
learning together, right? And you want to be,
yeah.
a psychologist. You love psychology and want to be in psychology. Executive coaching requires you to really deep dive into understand people behavior and how we can help them to grow. It's also part of psychology and creativity also, because it's, one person having a different set, of one needs and issues and expectations. So it requires to be very creatively to work, well with, each of every person that we coach. So it's not that, plan B, but it's just like a plan. And it's all
Yes, it
connected.
felt like a plan B. But you know what? I got into the fashion school and I studied there for 6 years when I was also working in marketing. And then I noticed, like, yeah, I don't think I want to actually have a career in fashion. So live and learn. I think what I've done and what I encourage my clients to do is to follow what's interesting, like being very curious and trying things out. Because I mean, we really don't know unless we try. This is
Mhm.
something I just talked about with my client yesterday. Like, yeah, we might overthink what is suitable for us, but how can we know if we really don't try something? So I guess I've uh, tried many avenues and enjoyed that for a while. And it's not like our career is like we used to be doing like 40 years of something very specific in one company. At least in Finland that was the case earlier, that you just had kind of like one career. Now I feel like the career can be having so many phases. So I did 10 years of marketing. Maybe now I do 10 years of coaching. And what next? So I still have a passion of being maybe interior designer or something like that. So
No, no, I follow our curiosity and let the creativity
yeah.
lead the path, right? But that also come with a lot of courage, a lot of courage. And I tell you why, Kaisa. I
Mm.
spend a lot of time talking to executives myself. So they are friends and they are, clients, colleagues, and the people that we just happen to know through networking in life, and then we bring them to our, a community, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of them, by the time of their retirement, there's two things that they always regret. One, the first is for them to start their business when they were younger, because they've been making money for organization. They believe that they can make, the contribution for themselves in a different way, right? They did not. The second is
Mm.
to write a book, and they did not. And the reason for that, they say, is, inside the organization, there's a lot of things that they could not do. There's a lot of things that they can also do, but there's a comfortability within what it is. You have the package, you have everything covered, and now if you get out to the widening world and then start everything from scratch, it's uncomfortable. So I want to know, Kaisa, after the 10
Mm.
years in the marketing, and you decide to twist and then starting, a different career in coaching, what courage did you give to yourself back then to start?
I don't know if this answer is applies to many, or
Mm,
it's maybe not what you expected, but I actually followed love.
mm.
So I met a man in Finland. He had traveled from the US.
Ah,
He's Mexican American, and we met in an event. And I was asking him like, when do I see you again? And he was traveling Europe, and he asked like, do you want to join me in Greece? So I booked flights for the next weekend to meet him in Greece. So I think I was, like you mentioned, regret. Like I felt like if I didn't go and try this out, I had this very strong feeling like I want to get to know this person more.
Mm.
And then I just, took the flight out of the blue. And 6 weeks earlier, I had bought my apartment in Helsinki. I was like, I have a good job. I'll settle here in Helsinki. I have my hobbies, my friends, my family. Everything is here.
Ah.
But I guess there was some voice telling me that no, you're not ready to settle in Helsinki. You want to explore the world.
Mm.
So for me, it happened this way that I fell in love with a man who lived across the Atlantic. So we were meeting in very different places, and he wanted to actually come to Europe. So he asked for a transfer, and he got a transfer within the company to London.
Ah.
And so back then, this was before COVID. So my company, I was doing marketing in an event industry.
Mm.
So we were organizing live events
Mm.
mostly, and uh, I mean the remote work options were like 1 day a week, but the events are there physically. So we were very much needed at the
Mm.
office and the venue. So my work didn't really allow me to have both,
Ah.
to live with him and to work there. And I had been there for a very long time in the
Mm.
company. I have really much enjoyed. Uh, I had received a lot of like trust that I could really try new things, develop the marketing, do new strategies and brand development. And I was like very excited, but I guess it was a time to explore something new.
Mm.
So I started thinking like, how can I move to London and what would I like to do? And this really kickstarted the whole thinking process, like what I want to do next.
Mm.
And to be honest, it wasn't easy.
Mm.
Because, I mean, I guess many have the same issue as my clients struggle this as well, because there's like a million option nowadays.
Yeah.
we can like do so many things. So it's very overwhelming. At least it was for me, like, oh my God, like, do I want to do something specific in marketing or explore something totally different? And I was very like blocked. I mean, I was like journaling, I was making notes and having different business ideas or what I want to study, and like there was still like so many things that I was interested in. Like maybe you heard from my background that there's a lot of things that you can pursue. So what do you choose then? And I guess my personality was also that I wanted to have this safe and secure life. I mean, like in Maslow's hierarchy, like I said, I have a good home that I renovated for myself, and I have this secure job and income and everything. On the other hand, I mean, like I said, I'm from Finland, and we are very like, let's say that the independence and freedom are maybe rooted in us. At least those are my values as well. So I felt like this is the chance for me to explore that more. Like, how do I just have more freedom in my life? And this is where then the entrepreneurship came along. But how I found coaching was that I started talking to people because I couldn't figure things out in my head. There was too many ideas. I was thinking like, okay, what has interested me in my jobs, and that was very clear. I wanted to work with people. In my marketing jobs, I was doing everything from digital to face-to-face events, and what was the most rewarding was really organizing the customer events that I could give them new ideas, new perspectives, a way to network and kind of help them in their work. So, like you said, teaching kind of goes in line with the coaching, and I guess that's what I saw, like, okay, what's most rewarding for me has been that kind of facilitating the learning and how people can thrive in their work. And now I just found a new avenue through coaching. So when I talked to my entrepreneur friends, they had studied coaching, and I was like, what is this? And it really resonated with me. So I started looking for coaching training in London, obviously, and I found one of the let's say the oldest and most experienced coaching institutions. The Coaching Academy is in London, and I was lucky to attend their 2-day free seminar. They still organize that live back in 2019, I think it was, the summer. And it was great because it was hands-on coaching already. We could try in the seminar with the other participants already. So they were really showing us what is coaching, and then we could try. And I was like, okay, how do I apply? Now I just needed to make a plan because I still had my job in Finland, and I still had my apartment and 25-year mortgage. That how do I make the transition?
Wow.
So I think the hardest part was to find what it is that I want to pursue next. And then that clarity gave me courage to make the changes.
Wow.
This was a very long answer to your question, but yes, I think courage is not something that, oh, we just have it and that's it. I think there's the steps, and this is also how I help my clients to have the vision, and when the vision becomes more clear what they want and what kind of changes they want to take, then the transition and transformation, if it's internal as well, becomes easier. And so through the vision and clarity and having certainty, I think we build courage
Mm.
then to go after that. I mean,
Wow.
there's a few limiting beliefs here and there coming to block,
The
but
reality, right?
yes,
Hey, guys.
but I yes,
Yeah.
I feel that once I had the vision for myself and how I want to help others, that that vision has felt bigger than any roadblocks
Wow.
in the way.
Wow. You know what, guys? I'm so admire of your story because you let your heart lead your way first. Go in, follow the love that you believe. And and then your mind will work after that to sort out things that how things can be in order, and from there you ask yourself a lot of tough questions. You met a lot of people also, so that you can gain the clarity in what is that you could do. The option start to narrow down to where is the best one for you. And imagine, back to the younger version of Kaiser. Do you ever think that one day you're gonna travel the world and do the works from anywhere in the world and helping people?
No, I couldn't even imagine the life that I'm having right now.
Mm,
So it's like I know we've been through a lot and the pandemic, and people have wanted to be very safe. And for me and my husband, we started in the lockdown in London,
mm.
and not the best place to be. um, but still we've been able to travel a lot. First, because of his work, we
Mm.
were in the Arab Emirates, and that was something that I something new to explore. Then we've been to the U.S. and Mexico and Argentina, and a lot of places in Europe. And we are just choosing kind of like, okay, what do we want to explore next? My husband wanted to learn Italian, so we lived in Italy for a moment and a few months, and the summer in Athens, and now we are in Belgrade. So no, I couldn't even imagine this kind of lifestyle. I don't think nomad maybe existed. Or maybe it did. But when I started to think my career transition, that was like 4 years ago. So all the remote working options and these like digital nomads
Mm.
and digital entrepreneurship is like at least was very new to me, and it wasn't so popular in Finland, for example. So
Mm.
now, if I mentioned that there was a lot of options, then I think now it's even more because you can really create. I believe you can really create the lifestyle you want.
See.
You just need to know what you want, and then there's so many options out there.
Yep. And that leads to what we earlier talking about, why you're doing what you're doing now, right?
Mm.
Because you're helping people to succeed, and without compromising the quality and the happiness of their lives, right? And and then you also sharing that a part of you back then was try to play safe, like you had a house that you need to take care, and then you had a job that is really, give you the security that you need. But then the part of creativity and curiosity that came in and took you away from that and start to have a career that you never imagined, that you a career and a life you never imagined in your life that could even exist in, right? Out there, there's a lot of people want to have that kind of life, but they play safe, right?
Mm.
How can we help them to ignite that curiosity, to really look deep inside of them and find something they love to do and start doing that, Kaiser?
Very good question. And what I didn't mention before was that I did a lot of personal work,
Mm.
and I think that has helped me I mean, I don't think I would be here at the moment doing what I do if I hadn't done that work before. So I was in a very long relationship with my high school sweetheart, and um, I mean, I just don't think I knew myself,
Oh.
and the relationship defined me a lot. And I was like, who is Kaisa, and what do I want to do? So I needed to do that for myself, to just be on my own. And this is when I was 25, and started kind of exploring myself, not just who I am, but who I want to be. And maybe this is also rooted in Finnish people. We can be a little like realistic and pessimistic, and I wanted to have more positive way of thinking. I mean, this is also studied, like how as humans we still have the fight or flight mode, and like of our thinking, like 60, I think it's like 65% is negative because we are always in that alert mode. So we really need to do the work in order to think in a more positive, optimistic way. So I was doing the work that who I am as a person, and also working on my mindset. And once I did that, the world really opened for me.
Wow.
So I was telling myself that it's good to be realistic, you know, feet on the ground, and like not like imagining and dreaming too high, and like not having just head on the clouds, but do something like what is reasonable and safe. And I think we are kind of maybe thought that way, at least we were back then. And it's very easy to just follow this path, like you study, you get a great job, you get married and have kids, and work until you retire. And, you know, it's very easy to go on this path without really like maybe thinking like what it is that I really want. A lot of my clients, for example, they have just followed that what is available for them, and they've received job offers that they just go without maybe thinking more that is it aligned with their values and priorities. And so but to say that this inner work really changed me a lot, and I think that was the foundation that then allowed me to kind of explore the curiosity and have that courage, because I knew myself more. So over the years, and especially when I was doing that, my career planning and what I want to do next, I also developed a vision, like what it is that I want to see in the world. And I think that's a very good question for anyone who wants to explore, like, for example, meaning and what is like my purpose and calling. Is like, okay, how do I want to see the world in the future, and what is my role, what is my contribution to that?
Beautiful. Wow.
So I really wanted to help people, because I feel that it's so sad that most people, I don't know what are the latest statistics, but let's say at least 85% of people are not engaged and excited in their work, which is very sad to me, because we work so much. Why not enjoy that? And that's why I did a lot of career coaching. But it's like I mentioned before, it's not only that we put all the effort into our career, but how do we harmonize with the other interests that we have, our personal growth, our social relationships, and love and family and friends, and love of learning, or like other hobbies, and just the environment we live in. So there's so many aspects, and I believe the happiness comes from that we really like put attention to all our priorities and interests.
Mm.
And it's I guess it's so easy to get caught into like, okay, what is my professional purpose as well,
Mm.
and pursue that.
Wow.
Sorry, I forgot your question already. I'm just like
It was so lovely, Kaisa. What the hardest part to know is to know ourselves. It's always hard, right? And a lot of people refuse to really look inside of themselves, because when we really look inside of us, our human minds tend to to show us what we lack of, instead of the what we have full, right? And and because of that, we start to see that we're not good at this, we're not yet there, there's a lot of people more than us, there's a lot of people, and then we ask ourselves, who are we to think that we can do this kind of job, do this kind of life, right? And because of that, there's a lot of us hesitates to ask ourselves the big question and start to know us a lot deeper. So in your exploration stage, were you scared sometimes?
oh, I bet I was. It's a few years ago, so I can't really remember. I think it's almost 10 years ago.
Mm.
um, I think I just had realized the need for me to do that. So I wasn't maybe feeling that scared. Um, Also, I mean, I didn't really have tools for it. I just did it myself
Mm.
mostly, and having some help with my friends and
Mm.
like sharing our thoughts and insights and experiences. But I didn't have the tools that I have nowadays that I use in coaching. So it was very different back then. But I feel like I just had this urge to know who I am and what, especially like what I'm interested in, like, and what do I want to do in the future. So I wouldn't say scared, but I do agree, like you said, that many people find that very, very challenging because I think it's like, like asking feedback. This is just asking feedback from ourselves. But if we think about asking feedback from others, that's very daunting or can be very daunting because we don't know what we can receive.
Yep.
And the same, like if we do the work in ourselves, it's like, oh, it can be scary. Like, what do we find, So I think I just started like thinking about my interests at first, and also just like, who do I want to be? So if you're like too scared to first explore like who I am, it's like also we can just shape our identity. It's like, okay, who do I want to be? And like I said, I did the mindset work that I wanted to become more optimistic, and then it's just practice before it kind of then gets automated in our brains. Um, the same with your identity, you can just build what you want, and I think that's the beauty of our brain is amazing. How we can, how we have the power to change it if we want to, and also like we can really be who we want to be. How we show up to ourselves, how we show up to others, especially leaders out there listening, is like what kind of example I want to set to others. Because like I told many stories, like how I did what my mom had interest in fashion, making her clothes, and in psychology. It's like we look at these examples from around us. And that's one way, of course, thinking like, okay, if I have an idol or something, some person that I admire, and having those kind of examples and really following them, and having people in your life that can, kind of boost your own energy, not to put you down, but how you can have those supporters.
Yep.
Like my husband is supporting my journey in exploring this new career path in coaching and being an entrepreneur, and that's so helpful to have that like emotional support, for example. So also surrounding yourself with those like you admire and those who support you is very I would say important.
Absolutely.
And maybe you feel less scared when you have that
Yep.
around you. Don't they say that we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with?
Yep.
So really like thinking who you want to surround yourself with. And this is also a reason why I this year started in a business coaching program, like that I'm being coach is also one coaching. So I'm working with a coach that she's ahead of me. She's done 14 years of coaching, whereas I've done a few years of coaching. So it's like, where do you want to see yourself and who can support you towards that?
See, Kaisa, it's so beautiful if we can have the people in our life that too close to us and that can uplift us, right? And a lot of time I talk to the people that I know that be very careful selecting the people you associate with, because if you keep hearing no, can't, and stuff like that from them too often, then your world will be shrinking to impossible instead of this, expanding to what we call possibilities, right? And the people around us has significantly impact on who we are, what we can be, and who we can become also. So thanks for the advice of selecting the people joining, and and the that's my mom always told me when I was young, the best way to lead around is to lead by example. And I always love the advice from her, because now you're teaching the people, you're coaching the people to have a fulfilling life, and you're leading that example also of having the courage to create the life that you want to have, and be happy, be joyful, and in that. So I want to bring you to the memory of your first client, because as an entrepreneur, we would never forget we would never forget who was our first client was, right? So how did you form the creation of your business, and found your first client? Can you share that experience so we can celebrate that again with you?
Oh, yes. Well, I guess I can recall the practice clients, because when I started the coaching training, we do a lot of like practice hours. So I actually got those from my network. A few those who were not too close friends, but we knew each other, and I do. I don't exactly remember if she was the first one that I started with, because I had a few that I was coaching simultaneously at first. But she was the one that we had the longest coaching relationship. And it was just amazing to see her transition, and she noticed that herself. Just from, like if she was like stressed and coming to the sessions, like you could see the tension in her. And by the end of the hour, like she was smiling and released. And it's like, once she even had headaches, and we then got rid of the headache. So I think this just tells like how we humans, like we are like everything, the mind and emotion and the body and everything is connected.
Yep.
And how we can like I mentioned about the clarity first, like when you get that vision or target or goal, whatever you want to name it, and then how to get there and what you can do, I think it really just empowers us. And I really saw that in her. Because to be honest, I was a little suspicious, like, what is this coaching? It's not giving advice. I'm just asking questions like, who would pay for this? But that's the beauty. When we get the client to notice the answers within themselves and what is best for them, like I can of course inspire from my personal story, but in the coaching sessions, it's all about them. It's all about the client. So when they notice those things and have more clarity and certainty, and then the actions and the plan, it's just amazing. And how over the months, the mindset can change, and how they have built more courage and self-esteem or confidence. Like, for example, one example with her was that she was doing music in her personal life, and she had no problems, like publishing videos about her singing and her composing music. But when it came to her profession, she had like 10 publications waiting, but she didn't have the courage to publish them because she was scared of the feedback. And when we worked that a little bit, and she started posting the blog posts and videos about her profession, she actually got a job offer.
Wow. See?
So I think that's an amazing, example, like how we block ourselves from the possibilities out there.
Wow.
So it's the mindset is just so important work to do that. Like how can we overcome the limiting beliefs, like we call in coaching, that what are the thoughts or perceptions or past experiences or whatever the fear is, that how can we overcome that? And then what is possible? Like in her case, she got a job offer.
Wow.
Because somebody had found her blog post. So I think that was amazing example. So beautiful. I always remember that.
Beautiful, beautiful. We create a beautiful world our way, right? One little change that positively at the time, then we make it get into somewhere a lot more beautiful destination. Kaisa, I have these questions. When you say earlier that you ask yourself what kind of the world you would want to create and how would you play a part in it, I'm just curious to know, what did you imagine that what do you want the world to be in your definition back then, though?
So when I started to have this, well, let's say when I started to think about my purpose, I think I hadn't even thought about that before. Like I said, like my career started as a plan B and something like, oh, I'm actually curious. I'm actually quite good at marketing. So I went with the flow, I guess, and what was available. And, but when I started to think about my bigger purpose, let's say 4 or 5 years ago, and there was a lot of things that kind of connected together. Of course, like the past experiences and how I was experiencing work. And I was very lucky to have supervisors and bosses who were really like encouraging and supportive. Not all my colleagues had the same. So privileged, and I saw a lot of people burn out, my friends or my colleagues, and it really struck me. I noticed how hard it is to overcome burnout and how difficult it is, and I almost went there myself because I was so dedicated in my work. so I got very tired, but I didn't quite go to the burnout. But I think that was seeing that around me was one of the things that really made me think about how I want to see the world, and especially like the working life and the culture and leadership, and how I noticed like how the leadership really like matters, how the employees perform and thrive in their work. And like I mentioned, like I think it was so sad to see these studies how most people are not engaged or excited in their work. And when I started studying coaching, I was also doing master studies in leadership, and that went very much aligned. And since I've also continued to executive and leadership coaching and business coaching training, and getting more tools to help leaders and entrepreneurs to first, I think it's the self-awareness, like who we want to be and how you want to show up as a leader, and then having the tools to support your team members, or even if you're working alone like myself, but having partnerships and how you support your clients. So I think it really starts from the self-awareness. But what kind of like how my vision shaped up is that I wanted to see this more sustainable way. I call it sustainable way of working, because like how we can support people, ourselves not to burn out, and also then our teams not to be there. And quite the opposite, like I think it's very inspiring how the trend is now in more positive psychology, for example, and those are good studies, like what happens when we get to lean on our strengths and use them in our work and life in general. So how as a supervisor or leader in the organization you can support your team members to bring in their strengths, and how can they just grow also in their profession and learn more, and exactly leaning on their strengths. So this is very fascinating for me. So I think my vision was to just like build more sustainable, happier careers and businesses. And this really like led me forward in my coaching path, and then it has shaped a lot over the past years, and who do I want to help. And like I mentioned, the example, I was first more like career coaching, and now it's more towards the leadership coaching, and also how to combine, like you had studied my LinkedIn, how to really thrive in and succeed in your life and career without compromising on the happiness and life quality. Because I hear that many people think that, oh, I can have either or, career or health or, relationships and the social life. And I believe you can have it all, not like compromising on one area or the other. So how to really nurture all our priorities and strengths.
Thanks, Kaisa. Because we only die once, right? We don't die twice. So when we live, try to live in a good quality in as many aspects of the living as we could, and that's important. So thanks for doing that for the people around you, and whatever you do has a lot of influence. So the more that you do, the more influence you can create for the people around us, and cross boundary, cross generations. And we thanks for doing that. Because I have two last questions for you. All right. And this first question is about thinking. Because a lot of questions you asked yourself was a very big questions, and that helps you to expand the thinking. my wife and I are on the quest of find out how people think and how we can help people to think better. So every chance that we meet with
Mm.
people who can expert in what they do, we ask this question: how do you help yourself to expand your thinking, Kaiser?
Expand my thinking.
Hmm.
That's a good question. I was replying to your question before you finished. But I want to share two things.
Okay.
When I started doing my mindset development and mindset work, and I didn't really know about mind back then, I hadn't studied that. But what I had heard from um, my boyfriend's brother back then is that he had got this advice how to practice the negative mind to be more positive.
Mm.
And like I mentioned, I think that really expanded my worldview when I didn't have the more like fixed or limited thinking, like we call it. So just a tip in that is like when you notice yourself thinking something negative, whether it's like, oh, I can't do this, or how terrible is this, is like pause and think what positive is there in this issue. Because there is, I believe there's always both sides of the coin. So when you start like, it's like I said, it's wired in our brain to maybe have more this like alert mode and think about the negative, and it might feel easier. But actually, when you start like pausing and thinking about the positive, your brain is wired to a more positive thinking when you do that consistently. And that opened my eyes, for example, to explore different possibilities, even try sports. I'm very short, but I did beach volleyball. And, and people are like, what? Like, you do beach volleyball? Like, aren't you quite short? I was like, well, I have a good jump. So it's only like how we then want to challenge ourselves and explore those different things. So that is one. I think the mindset is a key. What kind of are we in the fixed mindset and in the limitations, or are we more open to explore more things and being more positivist? And then how to really expand, I think it's the skill of visioning, having a bigger vision. And like I mentioned, I was doing the leadership studies, and I remember this article which explained about this, like what we need from the leadership, and is to really have a more beautiful vision. And it's a skill to really imagine what the life in the future would look like. Because I think we live so much in the past and in the past experiences, it's hard to imagine something new. So practicing that, how do you want to see the future? And then there's different techniques for that. This is what I did with one of my clients who wants to explore the different career avenues, and if she wants to take on leadership positions, and she was just looking to her left and like thinking from the past experiences, and I was like, let's try this, and you just like turn towards the future. What do you see out there? And there's like different techniques how you can just like do that, and whatever it is that can help you unlock your mind from the past thinking to seeing the future and the new possibilities. For many of my clients, it's also like I said, having those idols or someone to look up to, and following them in different channels, or reading a lot about different topics, and then kind of see like what resonates with you. And it's like when you just have more knowledge and awareness about yourself, and then what you imagine the future to be like, whether it is just for yourself or like a bigger community or group of clients or what else. So practicing that skill of just like visioning.
Wow.
I think the key in there is not to be stuck on what I can do, but what I want to do.
Mm.
So it's so easy to think about like my career options or something, or as an entrepreneur, like what can I offer to my clients? So thinking what I can do at the moment,
Mm.
but it's I want to encourage people to think more like what do you want to do, like what really excites you, what because like I mentioned, we work so much, so why not to enjoy that? So
Yep.
what really excites you? Because then that opens from the what I can do to more towards what I want to do and how do I want to see the world. So that's how I've been expanding my
Exactly,
my
exactly.
worldview. So long answer to your question again.
It's very beautiful. Thanks a lot for sharing that two piece of how you advise people to expand their thinking. The one is the mindset because it's very important for us to realize that if we keep falling into the trap of thinking negatively, there's nothing grow in that space. So we have to move into the positivity side of everything that we touch, we think, we do, and so that it can make our thinking, our result become more fruitful, right? And the second is to have the ability to envision about the future. Because if we, you know, if we keep doing what we are doing and expect something to, to completely change, that's it's not happening. It's not real. So if we want to create something, we have to think about it in advance and work our ways from now to there so that we can, and the ability to look forward is not easy. It's not a lot of people having it, but it's a skill that we can learn and can practice, right? So thanks for sharing those two. And before I let you go for today, I'll ask you the last question. And this is about vision also, okay?
Okay.
And then thanks for sharing that first. So we know about your past, what you want to be. You want to be a teacher, you want to be a dancer, you want to be a psychologist, you want to be like artist and stuff like that. And you spend years in the marketing, and we know what you're doing now. You want to create a world a better place through helping people to succeed and having a fulfilling life. We also want to know what Kaiser's vision of the future. Is there anything exciting that you are about to be launching, doing, and you want us to celebrate with you now?
In my private or professional life.
Either way, either way.
Uh, we are dreaming about having a family one day. It's not yet, but that's something exciting and new that we want to experience. In, and then in my professional life, how will that work? How can I support my clients to, like I mentioned before, have them both to succeed in their life and career without compromising on their priorities. And I want to do the same when I hopefully become a mother one day. And so, how can I be the best mother and entrepreneur, like helping my clients? So, I think this excites me next to do it myself and help my clients with that, because I think, well, like this is about like happiness. It's such, what is it for you? I know not everybody wants to have a family or something like that, but just think about what it is for you. And like you mentioned about the regret
Yeah.
earlier, that I want to encourage people to have this no regrets life,
Yep.
not to just like think about like, oh, maybe in the future and one day, and that one day never come, whether it is writing a book or starting your own business or trying beach volleyball. I don't know what it is for you, but it's just to be reflecting a lot. I think it's that to check in with yourself often, because I know some people who've dedicated their life to their career, and that's their passion and what they really enjoy. But when they wanted to, for example, start a family, it wasn't possible anymore.
Yeah.
So how we can just be present with our current like priorities and needs, and especially those non-negotiables we don't want to live without, and then thinking about that future plan for us. I think this is an interesting dilemma, because people say that we can really enjoy life in the present moment, but it's also good to have that vision that you go towards. So how can you combine these two?
Yep.
And this is what I want to practice in my own life and help my clients with, especially if they're, wanting to help others. Like, how can you help yourself first, and then and then others? I really much like. I have this, oxygen mask, and what they say in the airplanes, like put your oxygen mask first before helping others. And I believe that's the key to anyone's happiness, to just take care of yourself and before helping others. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, like, you don't have all the energy and resources to then help fully others as well. So.
Yep.
A long answer to your question again. Oh my God, I could do this for 2 hours.
I really appreciate what you share, because and again, you already demonstrating that in your life, because you as long as we know our priorities, as long as we know that life has a lot more aspect than just work, we have we have a different part of life besides work, so if we know how to tangle with that and create a space where everything is balanced and happy, that would be so wonderful. And I believe we can do that. I believe that together, the people around us start the resignation, great resignation movement, because they want to find that balance. And organization and countries are now changing the way that they create policies, procedures, rules, and governance, so that they can help the people find that balance. And that is where the sustainability comes in and can last, right? And like I said earlier, we only die once. So if we die regret the things that we could not do, and that would be sad, right? So want to be living happy and joy is always what we human beings want to have. So we have to be creatively have the vision for that and work from now. Right?
Yes, I hope that, people, like, what happens, because the child is naturally very curious, and we have the curiosity in us. So what happens when we grow older and we start to, limit ourselves to have this, like, curiosity as a child as well, to go and explore? Because what I've done, and I think many people do, that we try to overthink things. Like you said, like, I was asking big questions from myself, and yes, and people want to find also answers to these big questions, like, what is my purpose and meaning in life? Or if they feel so big, just like follow the curiosity, what interests you, and try to, get answers bit by bit. And it's also changing during our lifetime. So it's not that, okay, now I found the answer kind of thing, but it's the constant exploration, self-exploration, and about the world, like how you connect, how you want to be part of it, how you want to serve others. So really, there's a lot of things from serving others and having that sense of meaning and being valued and respected, that bring a lot of happiness. But I think the key is to follow your curious, curiosity and intuition. So
Intuition.
really just like, and then not overthinking it, but just like trying things out.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Kaisa, for a beautiful conversation we have today. Please send our love to your husband. He has been a great source of motivation and support for you, and I wish
Yeah.
that the plan that you are having will become a reality. And we admire what you guys are doing, and we hope one day that you guys are gonna travel to Vietnam, and we'll be the one who welcome you guys here. Okay?
Well, I would love to meet you and your wife there as well. So hopefully one day I'll ping you a message when
Absolutely,
that's in
absolutely.
our world travel plans.
And that depends on you and him wants to learn Vietnamese, right? So you spent months in Italy because you guys wanted to learn Italian. So now just switch that into you guys want to learn Vietnamese, and beautiful country for you. Kaisa,
Yes.
I need to let you go now, and I want to say thank you so much for coming to our program and share a very beautiful story, very inspiring, and I really appreciate that. Okay,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you. Have a
Lovely to be part of this.
yeah, have a wonderful day.
You too. Have a great evening.
Bye bye for now.
Bye.